Do you love TV shows? We do too. Hello everyone, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Anna, and we're the hosts of We Judge a Show by Its Pilot, a podcast hosted by us, a married couple with an endless love for TV.
Whether you're searching for a new favorite series or ready to revisit an old classic, we're here to guide you through an infinite world of TV shows.
Each episode, we watch and discuss the pilot for shows, while also sharing personal stories that parallel the storyline.
So if you're tired of endlessly scrolling and not sure what to watch next, tune in and let us do the searching for you.
We Judge a Show by Its Pilot. New episodes every Tuesday and Friday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Your new favorite show is just one click away. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our pod.
Hello. Happy hump day.
Happy hump day.
It is Wednesday is what I mean by that.
Yes. Well, I know that. It may be some of our... I was on our homepage, on our podcast homepage on Podbean.
Yes.
And I'm always like low-key obsessed with where our listeners are, like what location they are. We have a large population of listeners from the Netherlands.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's maybe just one person that is just downloading
everything.
I don't think it works that way. I think it has to be like multiple people because it's like 28% of our downloads are from the Netherlands.
Oh, interesting.
And Europe really, Europe seems to be into our stuff.
Oh,
so
hey.
we get about maybe like
I'm into Europe.
Maybe like a third of our listeners are from Europe. So
we're hopefully going there next year.
Hola, bonjour.
Hola, bonjour.
Hello. I don't know.
Hello.
Yeah.
Good
Hi.
morning.
So we are continuing our summer blockbuster month with a show and a movie that is very special to me. Not so much the TV show, although I did watch it just because of who was in it. But we are talking about 10 Things I Hate About You, a movie that was released in, what was it, 99? Yeah, 99, which was during this resurgence of teen movies that were in the mid to late 90s, which we all know the 80s was like the era for teen movies, but the early mid-90s really teen movies really weren't as successful in the early to mid-90s. It really was more of kind of like singles, reality bites. It was more of like 20-somethings that people were more interested in at the time.
Kind of them growing up.
Right. Yeah. And then you kind of had movies like Scream and She's All That kind of revitalized the teen horror and teen movie kind of, like I said, resurgence. Late 90s, early mid 2000s was like a great era for teen movies.
It was kind of like the era of Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink.
Oh yeah,
like it was the 90s era of that 80s era.
Definitely. And you were a teen during the 80s during the 80s era of teen movies, where I was a teen during the resurgence of 90s, like millennial teen movies, as you can more easily call it. So we're doing 10 Things I Hate About You. I absolutely love this movie. I think out of all the teen movies, it's 10 Things my top three are 10 Things I Hate About You, non-horror, 10 Things I Hate About You, Angus, and Drive Me Crazy. I think those are kind of like my top three all-time favorites. Great music, great soundtrack, well written. Gotta love the fashion. Gotta love the tech from back then. The colorful desktop monitors.
Oh gosh, yeah.
The
boxes
where you could it was our own version of like a customized desktop monitor, even though there were like maybe like 5 colors of them. But it was like, I have a blue, I have a pink. It was like very trendy at the time. But yeah, so I am really excited to do this one, and I know you enjoyed the movie. So we're going to go ahead and do some episode, series, and movie information because we got some stuff to talk about.
All right. 10 Things I Hate About You pilot. 10 Things I Hate About You was an American teen comedy series that premiered on ABC Family, now called Freeform, on July 7th, 2009 and ended on May 24th, 2010. It ran for only one season with a total of 20 episodes. The series was created by Carter Covington, who was a writer on another ABC Family hit show, Greek. As a Delta Tau Delta alum, he wrote many of his fraternity experiences into the show. 10 Things I Hate About You was based on the hit 1999 teen movie of the same name, which was a modern retelling of Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. The film is best known for being a who's who of young Hollywood, serving as breakout roles for both Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger. The film also stars Larissa Oleynik, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Larry Miller, Andrew Keegan, David Krumholtz, Susan May Pratt, Allison Janney, Gabrielle Union, Daryl Mitchell, and David Leisure.
I mean, what a cast.
I love all of those people. I mean, it's kind of hilarious to see some of these names that are now are powerhouses and have had really long careers, you know, considering, some actors, they have one great movie and then you never hear from them again. And features the bands Letters to Cleo and Save Ferris playing covers of classic rock songs such as Shout, Cruel to Be Kind, and I Want You to Want Me. The film was shot entirely on location in both Seattle and Tacoma, Washington. Both the film and the series centered around the Stratford sisters, Kat and Bianca. Kat is an outspoken rebel that can't wait to graduate high school, while Bianca is the outgoing sister that just wants to fit in and be popular. Bianca desperately wants to have a normal high school social life, but is thwarted by her father's rule of not being allowed to date until Kat does. Things change when the mysterious Patrick Verona shows an interest in Kat, while Bianca has both the popular Joey and the sweet Cameron competing for her affection. The series stars Lindsay Shaw as Kat Stratford, Megan Martin as Bianca Stratford, Ethan Peck, the grandson of Gregory Peck, as Patrick Verona, Nicholas Braun as Cameron James.
How crazy is that, Cousin Greg.
Dana Davis as Chastity Church, Kyle Kaplan as Michael Bernstein, Chris Zilka as Joey Donner, Jolene Purdy as Mandela, and Larry Miller reprising his role again as Mr. Stratford. Both the film and the pilot were directed by Gil Junger. The film was written by Karen McCullough and Kirsten Smith, who also co-wrote Legally Blonde and Ella Enchanted. The pilot was also written by Covington. Despite having solid ratings during the first half of the season, receiving mostly positive reviews from both critics and audiences, the series quite never gained enough momentum to compete with all the other teen shows airing at the time, such as Gossip Girl, Vampire Diaries, Greek, and Glee. 10 Things I Hate About You, the series, was praised for its casting, particularly Lindsay Shaw, but people felt the show was a little too tame compared to other teen shows at the time, and although it differed from the movie, the series didn't really add anything new. You can currently watch the movie on Disney Plus and the series on Hulu.
So in 1999 were you living in Seattle in 99?
I moved there in September. I knew I got the job in July.
Okay.
So I don't know if this came out like early in the year or later in the year.
I didn't look it up. I know I saw it when I was in 8th grade, so I think it was early, and that would have been like spring 99.
Yeah, I don't think I saw it because I was finishing law school at that time.
So you didn't see the movie when it first came out? You saw it a little later?
I saw it later.
Okay.
And it was probably on like the weekend on a network just as a Saturday movie, and I was probably just glancing at it, and it caught my eye because it was filmed in Seattle. I remember that.
So I learned when we were watching the movie, that nothing was filmed on a soundstage. Everything was filmed on location, which is
pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy considering that it wasn't an indie film. So I mean, like, that's usually like an indie film thing. That's why like independent films get so much credit for feeling so real and raw. It's because they're not on a soundstage. But I often wonder why maybe they did it all on location, but I don't care because it's a great movie to look at. I mean, like, all of the scenery, the high school itself.
Oh my gosh.
looks like a castle. I remember when we went to Seattle, we were driving up to Seattle. I wanted to go visit this high school. It was just too out of our way. I remember like looking at the directions and it was just too out of our way. I believe the high school is in Tacoma.
Yeah, and while we drove through Tacoma, it was on the tail end of one of our days.
Right, and because when we drove to Tacoma, that was like at the end of our driving from Portland, then to Tillamook on the coast, then going up the coast to Tacoma. And I think we stopped at one place in Tacoma.
The Glass Museum.
And then, because that was like right off of an exit, it was really close. It wasn't too far off.
It was one of my things I wanted us to absolutely do, and it was getting late. So
right. And we were both kind of like, we want to get to our hotel. We want to just kind of settle in. We had literally spent like, I would like to say probably like 10 to 12 hours driving from Portland up the coast to Seattle. Great. One of the most memorable days of my life, one of the greatest days of my life, because I've never really driven that far, like that much before ever in my life where I was like actively paying attention. I was probably really little when we drove to like North Carolina and stuff like that, so I wasn't like, ooh, let me take in the scenery. I was probably like had my headphones on and probably like just drifting off into La La Land. But yeah, this movie is just beautiful to look at. We got to see the Fremont is
the Troll.
The Troll is at Fremont Street.
It's the Fremont Troll.
Fremont Troll.
But it's in the Fremont neighborhood.
Okay, I thought I was mixing Vegas with Seattle for a second.
You were, but we went and did that.
Yeah,
so we saw that.
We saw the Troll, and then there's like all this. They were like they're at this place that was on the pier, which is right by the old Real World Seattle house, which is what we went on that pier. We went on that, and then the aquarium. So I did watch the movie when it came out. Obviously, I was like 14. I was in 8th grade, so I was like it was PG-13, so I was able to go see it in theaters without like a parent, and it was a really great era for me because we had all these movies that felt like they were ours, and I feel like up until that point we didn't really have that. Like I really loved the teen movies at the time because it was very. Like I said earlier, it was very of the time, very 90s, very 2000s, very millennial. But yeah, so how did you like the movie when you first watched it or when we most recently watched it?
I'm going to say this, and I'm probably derailing like any lit teacher, English teacher's thought of teaching. Yeah. But
your favorite part of the movie.
Well, no. Well, but what I love about it is it takes a really deep piece of literary work and puts it in very relatable terms.
Right.
And I
thought you were going to talk about the English teacher. Okay.
I love the English teacher, but what I love is, like we've said, this is Taming of the Shrew. Right. And then there was also She's All That, which was not Shakespeare, but Pygmalion. And then you have O, which was Othello.
I got a list, so.
So what I loved was we watched movies based on Shakespeare, like the original Olivia Hussey movie. And I mean, I remember like watching those and being like, what's happening? Right. Who are these people? Like, they were so much older than I was in like 7th and 8th grade. And not that people can't be older than me. There's obviously always going to be actors that might be older, but it wasn't relatable to me. Right. And that's what I felt like a lot of these teen movies did, was it put it in context. I mean, obviously things like, Clueless, which was Emma. Yeah. And, I love those reworkings of classics into current space, and I think that's what I liked about 10 Things I Hate About You, was it took Taming of the Shrew. I remember the Elizabeth Taylor movie of that, and so it put.
And then there's Kiss Me Kate, which is like the musical version of it.
Yes, yeah. And so that's what I love about these movies, is that it can take a really old literary piece and make it contemporary and modern, but also fun, right? And put it in terms that we understand, such as dating in high school and parents that are strict, or parents that from different classes that don't want the kids to intermingle, or whatever it might be. And so I loved all of these in that genre of teen movie.
Whereas I feel like those old classic literature, like you said just a second ago, those classic literature tales often have to do with the class systems. They have to do with like in Pygmalion, which if you've ever seen My Fair Lady, that's essentially what it is, just with songs in it, same character names, same everything. That it's like, okay, so Henry Higgins is like upper class, and Eliza Doolittle is like a flower girl, which is like she's a merchant, she's like poor class.
Business, blue
Whereas
collar.
with high school, you can do it with social hierarchy, which kind of eliminates the I'm rich, you're poor. It's more of just like I'm popular, you're not. And like you're like Rachel Lee Cook, even though she's beautiful, all you had to do is put glasses and a ponytail on her and make her wear overalls. And it's like she's the weird girl, you know, and it's just that whole trope, which I love that they made fun of that in Not Another Teen Movie. Just take off the glasses and the ponytail.
And she's totally different.
And she's hot, yeah. That's it. I'm done. I'm a miracle worker. It's like one of my favorite scenes from that movie where all Mia Kirshner does is take off her glasses and let her hair loose. And she's like, that's it. I did it. But yeah, I absolutely love this movie. I love that it is legitimately a really funny movie. It has stood the test of time. It's still more relevant than ever with, kind of how boys and girls are treated differently, and how there's like this kind of undertone of misogyny when you're in high school with the boys kind of running everything. And, kind of like the whole trope of, like a girl has to date an asshole in order to realize that she wants a good guy or a nice guy, kind of that whole trope. And I absolutely love the cast. David Krumholtz I consider to be one of the most underrated actors of all time. Anything that you see him in, he is so funny. Him and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are two child actors that like never really went away. They're still consistently making movies. Gabrielle Union, pre-Bring It On, is so funny because it's like she became so famous after Bring It On, and it's like I think 10 Things I Hate About You was probably helpful in her getting the part in Bring It On, because it's like, well, I've done a teen movie before. And Susan May Pratt, which she was in so many movies in the 90s that like I did not realize it until because she's in 10 Things I Hate About You, and she's also in Drive Me Crazy.
And Center Stage.
And Center Stage, which is another underrated, I guess because they were in college age, you can call that a teen movie, a young adult movie. But yeah, I love the movie. I love everything about it. I love the ending. I love the characters. I didn't feel like... I felt like it was relatable watching it as a teen, but I feel like watching it now, I have an appreciation for it. Because,
I do as a teacher.
Because your favorite part of the movie was the English teacher who basically gets to say and do all of the things that every teacher wants to say and do.
Absolutely. I was dying at every scene in the classroom.
One day you're going to get bitch slapped. I'm not going to do a thing to stop it.
Exactly.
Pipe down, Chachi. Like,
yes, if that stuff happened today, oh my God, like parents and what teachers would be kicked out or whatever, but that's sometimes what kids need. So that was hilarious.
Okay, so we both like the movie. Obviously,
yes.
we both have expressed how much we like this movie. So what did you think of the pilot? It was like 25 minutes. It was a really easy watch. So what did you think of the pilot, watching it as an adult?
Watching it, because I had actually never seen it. I think I knew it had come out, but I like, when was it? 2009?
It was oversaturation of teen shows at the time.
Yeah, or whenever it came out. I don't think it really interested me that much enough to like sit down and watch it back then. And so when we decided to do it for this pod, I was like, wow, I am surprised I didn't, because I mean, I did like the movie whenever I did catch it. So maybe those paths never crossed, at the time. I just felt in comparing it to the movie, it didn't hold up. I mean, if it was its own little separate TV show and I had no recollection or knowledge of the movie, I mean, it would have been cute. And especially knowing it was, taking Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew and spinning it into a high school story. But I felt like the actors were trying so hard to be the movie actors.
Yes.
Like they weren't trying to be themselves as actors. They were trying to imitate what had already been done. And that might have been the direction they were given or who they were as actors. But I just felt like it didn't go well.
Right. other than the character of Joey, who is a complete 180 from the movie to the TV show, he's way nicer. I would argue that Joey's kind of like the main antagonist of the movie, whereas he is not even an antagonist at all in the TV show. He's kind of like this kind of bumbling, kind of like a bumbling idiot, kind of like this lovable oaf type guy, whereas Chastity is the main villain of the TV show, so it's kind of like girl versus girl kind of thing, which was a much more popular trope at the time.
And I wonder if it's because they were obviously shooting for more female audience. Yeah. Because I don't know if this would have been a TV show for teen boys to watch, and that would have been of more interest.
Right.
So,
yeah. So
I don't know.
It struck my interest because of. I remember when the show was first being promoted, so I was watching Greek at the time on ABC Family, and I think I was watching something else on ABC Family. I don't remember what was on what channel at the time. I want to say, no, I think Pretty Little Liars was CW. I could be wrong, though. But I was definitely watching Greek on Fox, on ABC Family. It's been so many different channels.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing previews for it, and I remember Lindsay Shaw from Ned's Declassified, and she is and watching their rewatch podcast, or listening to their rewatch podcast of Ned's Declassified recently, Lindsay Shaw is a real life Kat Stratford. Like, she really is that person, which is why I think people liked her as Kat so much, because you were like, oh, if you had a real conversation with her, she would talk to you like that. She would be like, yeah, whatever. Like, she was just that girl. But and also Nicholas Braun, who I've been a fan of since Sky High. I've always kind of I was like, that guy's going to be huge one day. I was like, that guy's going to be like huge in like the comedy world one day. And I mean, he had Succession, which I guess was his breakout performance, but I've just been such a fan of his for such a long time. Like, when you just see someone on screen, regardless of what the content is, and you see how seamlessly funny they are, like how naturally funny they are, you're like, oh, this is someone that I'm going to enjoy watching forever until they stop being
I've loved him since, especially Succession.
Yeah.
I didn't really know of him too much, and then he was also in Zola.
Yes,
and
my God.
Loved him in that.
He was so funny in that,
So
I that is like one of my guilty pleasure movies. I love Zola. It's so ridiculous. But yeah, I enjoyed it for the cast, like Jolene Purdy, who at this point was very famous for playing Sharita Shin in Donnie Darko, but also in one of my newer favorite movies, Unseen, where she plays the cashier who is helping a girl escape from her boyfriend via FaceTime. I absolutely love that movie, and she is, I mean, like, she is amazing in that movie, and I love it. So I love the cast, but I do feel like they were trying to, at this point in time, high school shows were very, like, controversial. They were very, like, we're 16 and we're sexy. Like, it was very much like Gossip Girl, Pretty Little Liars, where it was very, like,
more mature.
Right. And it was very much like, it was very, very mature. But I feel like with this one, it was a lot more innocent. It was a lot more of the vibe of 90s teen movies, where it was a lot more like, it was very colorful. Everyone was very, like, upbeat, and it was very opposite of what was on TV at the time, which is why I think maybe people originally started watching it because of the nostalgia of the movie. But then, like, as it kind of went on, they were like, okay, well, this isn't as edgy as the other stuff that I'm watching, so I would say the show is very easy to forget, just because it is so tame, and it was kind of like a diluted version of the movie. And the characters, I don't remember how much they evolved, because I really only watched it all the way through once when it originally aired. I think I watched it all on demand, probably like in a two-day period, because it's 20 episodes. They're like 25 minutes long, and I had a lot of free time in 2009 and 2010.
Yeah.
So I had the time to kind of just binge movies or TV shows.
I think also, and I know this might just only seem sort of a thought in just my head about the TV show versus the movie, is that I love the movie, and this just might be me because I lived in Seattle, was that it was in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
And it like, I think the Pacific Northwest lends itself as another character. I mean, and that just might be in my head. But I felt that because they made the TV show back in California and LA or wherever in California it was supposed to be, it just blended.
Yeah.
It like was, okay, it's just another high school movie in in
Right.
California. And to me, that just didn't make it something special.
Right.
Like, I was just like, oh. But again, that could only have been a thought in my head,
Yeah.
and why it wasn't, because I mean, I'm sure people don't really care that much. But when a show takes place in a certain location, for me, that also lends another character
Yeah.
to it. And that to me sometimes dilutes LA.
Right.
Because so much stuff happens in LA.
Right, and I mean, it differs from a teen show that's set in New York, because New York City is always its own character, and it, like, I see what you're saying. It was just kind of like, anywhere California kind of thing, anywhere Southern California kind of thing. But there were things about the show that weren't in the movie that I did appreciate.
Okay.
So kind of like in the TV show, there's kind of like the elimination of like the bet of like the arrangement of the bribery and stuff like that, where I feel like that was such a teen movie trope, especially during the 90s, where it was like, Pygmalion and all these other ones, where it was like it always involved a bet, and they made fun of that in not another teen movie, where there was always this, like, there's a bet or like an agreement or a scam of some kind, which
lends to like such hate,
right?
Like, it's so mean.
And also it also kind of lends itself to, I would say, 10 Things I Hate About You was maybe an exception, because Patrick kind of did the right thing at the end of the movie. But I mean, like, the fact that these girls or these guys or whoever is the one who's being bet on takes the protagonist back at the end, I'm always just kind of like, is that the message we're trying to send?
Right.
Like, I'm always like, is that 10 Things I hate always being like, 10 Things I Hate About You is different, but like, it really was a lot more like, I don't know. It was really seemed like Patrick just immediately liked Kat, and it was like the money was just kind of like, kind of not even important to Patrick. Whereas I feel like in She's All That, where it was just like all about the bet, and it was all about like, he was. I don't think Freddie Prinze Jr. really saw anything special in Rachel Lee Cook until the other kids were mean to her at the party. That was when he was like, "Oh, you're hot," and then it's just like, I don't know. That might just be my own thing, but like I feel like eliminating the whole bet part of it, and it just being about Cameron trying to win Bianca over, and then Patrick kind of on his own showing interest in Kat because she's not like the other girls, and he is just immediately interested in her, and has nothing to do with money, has nothing to do with being persuaded. It's just he sees a girl that is different, and he's into it, And I appreciated that about the show.
And I appreciate that about you saying that,
Yeah.
because I always felt in movies like, She's All That and 10 Things I Hate About You, and I'm like, if I found out a guy was only going out with me because he took a bet because I was ugly, I really don't know if I could get over knowing that fact.
Right.
Like, really, I mean, again, I if you've ever dated me and it was because of a bet, I have never known about that. But I just am like, gosh, like, how low self-esteem do you have to continue a relationship in this way? And I don't care how nice the guy is, to know that he had to take a bet and money to go out with me. Like, that is just weird. So I do like that they took that part out.
Yeah.
And that he was attracted to her because he was different. Because I always say, one of my favorite quotes is, to get nowhere, follow the crowd. Like, be who you are, like, don't follow the trends or whatever. So
is that why you always kind of like the lesser popular person, like in a boy band?
Of course.
So who's your favorite? Okay, so speaking of the 90s, who is your favorite, like, Backstreet Boy?
My favorite Backstreet Boy is Howie DeRoe.
Of course it is.
Because what's really crazy is he is a little Latin, and I don't usually go for Latin guys, but I mean, everyone was always, it was Nick Carter, Brian Luttrell, Kevin Richardson, AJ McLean was the bad boy.
Yeah.
I just loved Howie DeRoe because, one, he always seemed very sweet, and because everyone was always going after the other four. So Howie...
Were girls going after Kevin?
Oh my God, yes.
See, Kevin was my favorite. So Kevin was my favorite Backstreet Boy because he had my favorite voice.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that was my Alex, my
okay.
law school bestie.
I mean, I
that
wasn't
was
sitting
her
around,
husband.
I wasn't sitting
Oh,
around
yeah.
talking about the hotness of Backstreet
Yes.
Boys. So
And then New Kids.
New Kids. I was about to say NSYNC, but New Kids. Yeah.
New Kids, is Danny Wood. Danny Wood, if you're out there, you were on my cheat card. Just kidding. But yes, I was a Danny Wood fan. One, just because I think he was, again, just not the Donnie Wahlberg, not the Joey McIntyre. Again, you had Jonathan and Jordan Knight, the two brothers. I always felt like Danny Wood was the best friend, which he's best friends with Donnie Wahlberg.
Yeah.
They were best friends from like childhood. And he has just become actually one of the fan favorites today. I mean, he is like bowed up and in shape and just totally popular. So Danny Wood, if you're listening, I've always loved you.
You have my permission.
Yes. Thank you, boo.
All right. So when we were first doing 10 Things I Hate About You, and we were kind of talking about like all these teen movies that were based on classic literature, I didn't realize how many teen movies were based on classic literature. All right, so kind of like probably the more obvious ones is Easy A, which is based on The Scarlet Letter.
Yes. By
Nathaniel Hawthorne. And then Clueless, you said, obviously, was Emma by Jane Austen. Cruel Intentions was a high school version of the French novel Les Liaisons, Dangerous Liaisons, translated into English. She's All That is Pygmalion, that's obvious. O is High School Othello.
Ugh, love that.
She's the Man and Just One of the Guys is based on Twelfth Night by Shakespeare.
Yep.
Get Over It is based on Midsummer Night's Dream. And then, I did not know this, John Tucker Must Die is based on Shakespeare's The Merry Wives of Windsor, which I didn't know that. John Tucker Must Die is also as an underrated teen movie.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoy that one. And I think those are the ones off the top of my head, and the ones that are in here that are the most obvious ones. But I kind of didn't realize how many teen movies were based on classic literature, just because they kind of became their own thing, and so it kind of and some of them aren't as obvious as the other ones. Like and obviously I never heard of The Merry Wives of Windsor. I don't think I've ever read anything about Twelfth Night, so I don't know. I didn't realize that was about a girl pretending to be a guy. Yeah, it's about a girl pretending to be a guy. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen She's the Man. That was kind of post. Yeah, I think that was during the era where I was like kind of tired of teen movies. But yeah, so what are some of we maybe have talked about this before, but what are some of your favorite teen movies or teen shows? I listed my 3 favorite from my era, but I have a lot more, so.
Well, I mean, I grew up in the classic John Hughes era of movies. I mean, you've got Breakfast Club, Weird Science, Pretty in Pink. I call St. Elmo's Fire. It's not a teen movie because they're post grad, but that came in that whole slew of movies. College Time was Clueless. I can always appreciate any kind of teen movie.
Yeah.
Even today, I think some of them are hilarious. Like just rewatching 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
I was cracking up. I mean, I was just like, I can't believe this might have been my only second time watching this in full. I was dying going, God, I needed this as a teacher. One, I also feel like parents should watch this to see like what buttheads their students are sometimes in school. So, I loved it for that. So I did love a lot of the movies you talked about.
Yeah.
Like I know you didn't like O as much, but I loved O because it was dark, it was heavy.
I liked O, but I remember we were talking about movies to watch with Maddie, and you brought up O, and I'm like, I don't want to watch that movie with Maddie.
There was like the sex and all kinds of stuff in that one, but so I love the concept of taking a historical piece of literature and making it modern and fun and showing students that literature can be creative.
Oh, yeah.
And I just think it's another, way to explain, something really deep to students because sometimes like I said, I watched that original Romeo and Juliet, and I was like,
same.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
In ninth grade English.
Yeah, so I like it for that. What about, so you've talked a little bit about yours.
Yeah, but I mean, there are so many others just because there are so many great teen movies out there. I mean, if we're talking 80s, probably my favorite teen movie from the 80s is Weird Science, but another favorite is The Last American Virgin and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Say Anything. I had some right here.
There's some other ones like The Sure Thing. I mean, again, that's a college movie.
Yeah, Better Off Dead is a good one. Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
Dazed and Confused is a good one. Mean Girls is a classic. Another good one that I sometimes I forget that certain movies are teen movies because they don't fall into the normal like teen movie category. Like Napoleon Dynamite is like, I absolutely love that movie, and I forget that it's a teen movie. Like they're all in high school, so I'm just like, that is technically a teen movie. It just wasn't like the typical formula of a teen movie at the time. And I also love, like, I mean, I know you're not a big fan of The Outsiders, but I love The Outsiders, the movie, not the book. We're both fans of the book. And Heathers is a fantastic high school movie, maybe a little too real for some people because it does kind of depict bullying and all of that in a very non-comedic, in more of like a dark comedic way, but I would consider it not comedic way, which is why I appreciate a movie like Heathers or a movie like Angus or My Bodyguard with Chris Makepeace and Adam Baldwin and Matt Dillon and Joan Cusack, where bullying is shown to be what it actually is, and that it's not funny, and that people suffer and people are miserable, and it's not kind of like the Anthony Michael Hall version of being bullied, where it's like he's trapped under a coffee table, like he's being stuffed into a locker. Isn't that funny? And it's like, it's not, it's just like, it's actually not. That's why I love Angus so much. That was the first teen movie I saw where I was like, and I was like 11. I was in like 6th grade when Angus came out, but when I saw it, I'm like, this is what it's actually like to be bullied. Like, it's not funny. It's not fun. It's not something that you look back on and think is funny. It's one of those, it's a serious thing. And I love that the certain teen movies that took it seriously, I really appreciate. High school shows, I feel like are a lot different than teen movies because they kind of have to push the envelope. They kind of have to be edgy. I would say a great example of a show that just kind of became too edgy was Riverdale. It just kind of felt a little too, like, try hard, I think is a good word for it.
I don't know if Jump the Shark.
Jump the Shark. Yeah. As soon as they got into, like, the drug that made them all get committed into a sane asylum, I'm just like, this is so stupid. I was just like, this show is so bad. And, you have other great high school shows, like you have Freaks and Geeks and My So-Called Life, and you kind of have like the more classic ones like Saved by the Bell, which is a pretty good show, I guess. Like, I don't think it's a realistic depiction of school in any way, but I mean, it's a fun watch. But yeah, or were there Square Pegs? That's the one I was trying to think of. Square Pegs is a great high school show. But yeah, I mean, I am a fan, even with current teen movies that come out. I'm always interested in watching them. I obviously love teen horror films. That's its own conversation, its own category. But yeah, Two Things I Hate About You is definitely top 3 for me. I absolutely love this movie. All right, you want to get into the plot summary?
Let's do it.
All right. So the movie and the pilot, I'm not going to say are the exact same because they're not, but like they are very similar. So I'm going to kind of give you the plot to the movie and then kind of cite the differences between the TV show while I talk about the TV show, because like I said, the pilot was only 25 minutes long. It was short and sweet. I feel like they did a good job of like kind of getting to the point, not dragging anything out. And I think you are watching the pilot under the assumption that you've already seen the movie, because the rules are already kind of pre-established in the pilot. So, all right. So in the film, Cameron, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, is the new kid at Padua High School in the suburbs of Seattle. He is welcomed by Miss Purdy, played by Allison Janney, the quirky guidance counselor who's more focused on writing her erotic novel. Another bit in the movie that I loved was cutting to her trying to think of, like the the stereotype in erotic novels where it's like coming up with adjectives to describe a penis. And which I always love. Michael Bernstein, played by David Krumholtz, befriends Cameron and shows him around the school and explains to him the social hierarchy of the high school. Cameron is immediately smitten when he sees Bianca Stratford, played by Larissa Oleynik, made famous from The Secret World of Alex Mack on Nickelodeon, walking with her bestie Chastity, played by Gabrielle Union. Michael informs Cameron that Bianca is off limits because of her insanely strict father, played by Larry Miller in both the film and the series, which I thought was kind of cool, who doesn't allow Bianca to date. Also after Bianca is Joey Donner, played by 90s heartthrob Andrew Keegan, the most popular boy in school who works as a model, and Bianca also seems to have a crush on Joey. Cameron is surprised to learn that Kat, played by Julia Stiles, an aggressively opinionated rebel, is Bianca's older sister. Kat and Bianca's father constantly reminds the girls that they aren't allowed to date until they are legal adults, until they graduate high school, but decides to tweak his no dating rule to Bianca will be allowed to date whenever Kat starts to date. And since that seems like it'll never happen, Mr. Stratford is comforted by the fact that neither of his daughters will be dating anytime soon.
See, and I do not like that rule because, as you know, like my mom always had the rule was we were all different and we all weren't guided by the other sibling.
So I remember as a teen watching it thinking that Mr. Stratford was like, I mean, I agree overall that his parenting is questionable, but it's also having a mother that was a labor and delivery nurse. Mr. Stratford is a OBGYN who delivers babies, and so he probably, and he says it a few times, he delivers babies to teenagers all the time, which is to why he is strict about it. But it really is like if you tell your kids not to do something, they're gonna find a way to do it because you're telling them not to do it,
and or be enticed to want to do it even more.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think they try to
make it funny,
but they also try to logically explain that he isn't strict for no reason. He is strict because of his work, and which provides some comedic moments, like when he forces Bianca to wear the pregnancy belly before she goes to a party, and then in the TV show when Kat is kind of recklessly driving, he makes her go around the house in a wheelchair to see what it's like if you drive unsafely,
which is paralyzed or
which
something.
Is insane. But I mean, I guess in a bizarre way, it's a good lesson for your kids. So Cameron befriends Bianca through the guise of being her French tutor, and when he asks her out, Bianca sees this as an opportunity to get Cameron to do her dirty work and find Kat a boyfriend. So Bianca really isn't interested in Cameron at this point. She is more interested in Joey, obviously. So she sees this as, well, if you can find someone for my sister to date, I'll date you. But really, it's her kind of way of, I can date Joey this way.
Yeah.
All the boys in school are terrified of Kat and refuse, but Michael and Cameron then consider extending the offer to Patrick Verona, the school's other outcast who everyone thinks is a psycho due to extreme rumors being spread about him, which includes he's been in juvie, he sold his organs to the black market for cash, or my favorite, he once ate a live duck. Everything except the feet and the bill. They realize that it'll take more than just persuasion to get Patrick to agree, so Michael makes a deal with Joey. He knows Joey wants to take out Bianca, so Michael persuades Joey to bribe Patrick to take out Kat so he can take out Bianca. Joey agrees and offers Patrick $50 to take Kat out on a date. So they're kind of using Joey because he has money. That's essentially what Joey's role is. Patrick is initially unsuccessful, but with the help of Cameron, Michael, and Bianca, Patrick begins to get to know Kat and realizes they are more similar than they are different. Basically, both are just misunderstood, and they're outcasts because they're misunderstood. After getting to know Joey a bit more, Bianca realizes he is shallow and offers nothing to a relationship. Bianca assumes she blew her chances with Cameron after she ignores him at a party, but he forgives her once she kisses him. Kat and Patrick begin to fall for each other, and Kat begins to regret her actions as a big sister. And this is probably my favorite scene in the movie. She confessed to Bianca that she was in the popular clique when she was in 9th grade and dated Joey for a month. She also confesses that Kat lost her virginity to Joey, but then regretted it, so he dumped her and spread rumors about her being cold, icy, frigid, the things that guys do. Kat blackmailed Joey into never telling anyone they had sex, and if he did, she'd tell everyone he has a tiny penis. Kat tells Bianca that she didn't want to tell her because she wanted Bianca to make her own decisions, but Bianca is furious with Kat because she was never able to make her own decisions because Kat kind of ironically made the decision for her by, kind of being who she was, and which I kind of felt like was a really good point. It's like Kat was just being her dad without realizing it, kind of not allowing Bianca to make her own decisions and kind of coddling her a little bit and not letting her, grow up a little bit. Kat decides to go to prom with Patrick so Bianca can go with Cameron. Unbeknownst to Joey, who still thinks Bianca is his date, shows up to the Stratford house only to have the door slammed in his face by Mr. Stratford. While in the bathroom at prom, Bianca runs into her now ex-bestie Chastity, who is Joey's backup date. Chastity informs Bianca that Joey never really liked her and had a bet going with his friends on how fast he could sleep with her. While dancing with Kat, Patrick is confronted by Joey. When Kat overhears that Joey paid Patrick to take out Kat, she is furious with him and leaves. Cameron attempts to defend the Stratford sisters, but is punched in the face by Joey. Bianca intervenes by punching Joey twice in the face and kicks him once in the crotch. This was her line. That's for making her date bleed. Punches him. That one's for her sister. Punches him again, and then kicks him in the crotch and says, "That one's for me," which I thought was a great line. Great scene. At school the following Monday, Kat is in English class with Patrick, and she reads an original poem. The title of the movie being the title of her poem. She begins listing the things she hates about Patrick and then ends the poem by saying, "I hate that I don't hate you, not even a little bit, not even at all." And then she leaves the classroom without the English teacher having to tell her to. In the end, Patrick wins Kat by giving it a sincere apology and using all the money Joey gave him to buy Kat an electric guitar, one she had been eyeing earlier in the movie. They kiss, and then Letters to Cleo play I Want You to Want Me on the school's roof, the end. Never quite realizing that those were probably stunt people and not the real band. Something I never considered once in my life until we watched it just now. All right, so in the pilot, the overall plot is similar, but they've made some key changes to some of the character dynamics and specific plot points. Instead of Cameron being the new kid, the Stratford sisters are the new kids at Padua High School in Southern California. There is no bet, there is no bribery, there's no deal. The father's rule of Bianca can't date until Kat does is already an existing rule, and Bianca already knows the story of Kat not being a virgin, something Kat never wants her father to know. However, it was with her secret boyfriend back in Ohio and not with Joey, because obviously they're the new kids. In the film, the mother left Mr. Stratford and the girls, and in the series, the mother passed away, which is something that they don't really talk about a lot in the movie. I kind of had to go back and look it up and be like, yeah, they only really talk about the mom twice.
Yeah, they don't.
Patrick is the school outcast, but is intrigued by Kat. He was not given any incentive to pursue Kat. He just finds her interesting. While the main antagonist in the film is Joey, he serves as more of a comic relief in the series, being portrayed as a dim-witted, lovable oaf that is in complete control by his girlfriend Chastity. Chastity plays a supporting role in the movie, serving as Bianca's eventual frenemy, but in the series, she is the main character, is the most popular girl in school, and is the primary antagonist of the series. Bianca desperately wants to befriend Chastity and it begins to work until Chastity learns that Kat is her sister, and Kat and Chastity had an altercation over a parking spot. When Chastity refers to Kat's car as a dinosaur, Kat sideswipes Chastity's car to park in said spot, and then Kat delivers the clever line, "Sorry, my dinosaur wanted to Jurassic Park in your spot," which I thought was a pretty great line. Cameron and Michael are still pretty much the same in the film and in the series. Cameron is smitten with Bianca the first time he sees her. He desperately tries to befriend her before her social status is determined. Michael tries to help Cameron woo Bianca, which includes Cameron throwing a party at his house. Bianca blackmails Kat into sneaking out with her and driving her to the party, and if Kat doesn't, Bianca will tell their dad that Kat isn't a virgin. The bribe works and the two attend Cameron's party. Like in the movie, Cameron realizes he doesn't have that much of a shot with Bianca after realizing she only really cares about impressing Chastity. Patrick attends the party and he and Kat exchange some words. Kat insults him and he rides away in his cool motorcycle. Yeah, I love every shot of Ethan Peck where he's just staring, brooding, being just the typical motorcycle guy.
Yeah.
The next day at school, Kat confronts Chastity. She tells Chastity she is now the photo editor for the yearbook, and if she doesn't let Bianca on the cheerleading team, then only awkward, candid photos of Chastity will be in the yearbook, assuming Chastity's vanity will get the best of her, which it does. So Chastity agrees and lets Bianca join the cheerleading team, but as the school mascot, a penguin. Cameron tries to talk to Bianca, nearly accepting defeat, but his mind is changed when Bianca thanks him for being nice and hugs him. After school, Kat sees Patrick and another girl riding on his motorcycle, but she doesn't seem to care that much. She kind of makes a comment about, like, wear helmets, make good decisions, kind of being a parent, which I thought was kind of funny, in her monotone voice. Bianca tells Kat that Chastity led her on the squad and tells Kat that Chastity isn't that bad after all, obviously not knowing that Kat has blackmailed Chastity. The two sisters drive off while I Want You to Want Me, the film's main song, plays. End of episode.
End of episode.
Cute show. I mean, like, it's hard. I mean, like, I think the best thing you could say is it's harmless. I mean, like, it's, I think if you want your kid maybe to watch a more innocent teen show, I think maybe this would be one to consider, because it's not Gossip Girl. It's not Pretty Little Liars. It's not Glee. You know, it's very, I would say wholesome. It would be a good word for it.
I haven't watched all of them.
I haven't watched. I don't remember it, and I'm tempted to watch the rest of it just because it would be such an easy watch. But I would recommend watching. I mean, if you haven't seen the movie, I definitely recommend watching the movie.
Oh yeah.
And if you liked the movie and if you love the movie, you never seen the show, I would say give the show a chance. It's on Hulu, and then the movie is on Disney Plus, which I think are both readily popular, available streaming platforms that most people have. So I definitely recommend it, both of them. But obviously the movie, I can't recommend that movie enough. It's so funny. It's so great. It stood the test of time, and it's still very relevant still to this day.
Yeah.
All right. You think that wraps this one up?
Yeah. Great episode.
Great epi. All right, that wraps up this episode. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on whichever platform you're listening to this podcast on. That way you'll be notified every time we publish a new episode. You can also follow us on Instagram at WeJudgePilotPod. We're also on Facebook. You can leave us a comment, suggest a show for us to watch, or leave some emojis in the comments. What you got?
I have the sisters, the school, the teacher, France, because he's her French tutor, the dance, the party hat, the car, the dinosaur because of the whole Jurassic Park thing, the motorcycle, the megaphone for the cheerleader, the penguin, and for the movie, the duck, the cash, the kiss, and so those are some of them. All right, well, we are going to head out, but we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.